Hey everybody, this is Joe. Thank you for watching my Giga-Texas construction update video. It's been a very long wait, just over 4 years since the Cybertruck was originally announced by Tesla, and now we are less than 1 day away from the big Cybertruck Delivery Event, and I know a lot of people are excited. There's also many people coming into town. Just take a look at the weather. It's going to be a little windy. Temperatures are going to be in about the mid 70 degree Fahrenheit, about 22, 23 degrees Celsius, so not too bad, but there will be rain, thunderstorms throughout the day. So we'll see what Tesla has in mind and how much of the event is inside versus outside. Now, according to Tesla, for those with invitations, the doors will open at 1 p.m. Central Standard Time or 1900 UTC. And if you want to watch the live stream, Tesla will be doing that, but just be advised it is on X only, and it will start at 2 o'clock Central Standard Time or about 2000 UTC. Now, if you are in the area, there is a companion event going on. It's the Cyber After Party. There will be events going on at the Luster Pearl East in the afternoon, and we'll be offering the live streaming for everybody in attendance. And then at 8 p.m., the actual party will begin. There will be a lot of personalities such as Sandy Monroe, and it will be hosted by Zach and Jesty from Now You Know. If you're looking for tickets, as I understand now, it is a sold-out event, but for those that are going to be in attendance, I'm looking forward to meeting you after the main Cybertruck Delivery Event is concluded. So that's it for the announcements on the intro today. Let's get into the drone. Let's fly around Giga-Texas and see what it looks like just 24 hours before the big event. If you would like to support my efforts, please consider using these links, which will be in the video description. If you are interested in Tesla products, you can help yourself and support me by using my referral code. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe buttons on my YouTube video, as this helps as well. Thank you. My drones are ready and raring to go. Let's go flying over Giga-Texas. Well, good early morning here at Giga-Texas. Can you believe we're just 1 day away from the Cybertruck? And as you can tell, they have the main entrance all lit up, and it is getting ready for the big event tomorrow. So I thought I would do a kind of a drone flight around, give you a good sense of how the decorations are starting to come along, how the main entrance looks all lit up with these LED lights and that shiny black trapezoid with that stone glass material, and also just how all of this is shaping up for the big event. So I'll let the video fly through here. We'll get some really good views of what this area looks like and some views on the inside as well. Of course, it wouldn't be complete without Cybertruck, so we have 2 of them here this early morning, and I'm sure we'll see plenty of more over the next 24 hours. But as we continue to fly along this side of the building, good views in the second and third floors here. Also, the work at the temporary end of line. You can see Model Ys exiting the building right now. More of them inside getting final preparations before they depart the factory and then head over to the east side testing and calibration lot and then preparation for the outbound lot where they are shipped to the railhead and other locations, and then eventually to customers. Now here I wanted to show you the work for the conduit. Looks like it's pretty much completed. All the trenching is done. The top for the concrete vault has been in place, and it's looking pretty close to being done. So let's fly across the highway, and let's resume the narration over on this side. And you can tell next to where this pond is, kind of that rectangular thin pond, is where that conduit comes out underneath the highway and then over on this side of the site. Now it is a little bit early, so it's a kind of darker views. Not a lot of lights coming from the new end of line structure right now, but we can see a lot of trench work that is going on around the building, and what we're seeing closest to the building is blue water pipe that's being installed. We've also seen a lot of electrical conduit and underground storm water pipe being installed. And here in the kind of middle of the screen, you can see those three vaults. It looks like there's some forms for more concrete work, and that's where some of that electrical conduit comes to this side of the factory. We also see these temporary power poles that are providing some electricity during this construction process. As we fly along the west side of the building, looking back towards Giga-Texas, you can easily see some of the light coming through those temporary or those transparent panels that will help allow ambient light to come inside during the daytime. Also looks like they're installing maybe some air conditioning units, or at least ducting for air conditioning units on this side of the building as well. There's some concrete slabs next to the base of the walls. The trenching here, I still believe that this is for the lighting that we'll see in the new outbound lot, and most of the trench work for that has been filled in. We just see a few of those trenches remaining. As I bring the drone down a little bit lower here on the south end, this gives you a good view of a lot of the concrete vaults that are waiting to be installed. More of the materials on the right hand side of the screen that will be going on the inside to get ready for operations. And then here is more of those concrete vaults for the electrical conduit, and a good look back across this site to the main factory. Now I'm going to fly further to the south. We'll gain altitude here, give you a good view of the warehouse on wheels with all of these trailers, just generally how this side of the site looks, and good views back towards Giga-Texas on this early morning with a nice sunrise. There is some clouds, but we get this kind of a pinkish glow around the entire site, and it was really a beautiful morning to be flying. So let's reposition the drone here to the south next to the south bridge area, and also you can see where the road is paralleling the dirt road on the left going underneath the highway. This is where the new cars will travel from the factory to the outbound lot once all of this is completed. So let's start back up on the other side of the highway, and the main site that we are looking at is this south side extension, and there's a lot of interesting developments here on this side early in the morning. So I'm going to first give you an overall view, and then we'll bring the drone down lower and take a look at some detail areas. So to bring the drone down here closer, you can get a good view of the rebar cages being built on the left-hand side of the screen. Those will go into the footings themselves. The perimeter grade beam that is continuing to be developed here on the south side with formwork and some concrete. And also the concrete column bases here that are numbered 85 through 93. That's the new grid coordinates that shows the building is being extended. And if you look into the opening just in the center of the screen very carefully, there is a Cybertruck inside with those flashing green lights. Maybe that's getting ready for the big event. I'm not really sure. But here's a good view at a lower altitude of how this south end extension is continuing to develop. All of the column bases that have been poured. As I mentioned, that perimeter grade beam that you see right in the middle of the bottom of the screen, where they have some formwork, rebar, and some other preparation for concrete to finish this out. You can see how it extends all the way around the perimeter of the building. Now, there's some interesting developments on this steel structure today, one of which I did not expect. If you look closely, and I'll zoom in here shortly, they've actually installed 3 of those very large Sedak glass panels already onto this structure, and they're sitting on that concrete perimeter grade beam. And you can also see that section of the second floor that's already had the concrete poured. This is very interesting. It's the first time I've seen this done here at Giga-Texas, where the steel assembly is still underway. Also, the perimeter grade beam itself is still being prepared for concrete, and yet they've already installed these very large glass panels. And it's hard to tell for sure the height of these, but they could be, about, I don't know, 15 to 20 meters tall. They're extremely tall. And if you look at some of the workers nearby, that gives you kind of an idea of just how big those glass panels are. So we may see an entire glass wall along at least this angled corner of the building, if not the entire south end. So interesting development to see. Now on this side, we can see the crane is busy getting ready to pick up several of these steel beams to be installed onto the structure. You see the workers on the left making sure that everything is connected properly, and the lift is just about to begin. So what I'll do is we'll bring the drone up in a little higher altitude, and I'll give you a view of that activity with the steel pickup and preparation for installation. Here's a good view of how that steel is being picked up. When Giga-Texas was being built, we often saw many of these lifts with 3 or 4 sections of the beams. And this is a more efficient way of maneuvering the materials. And I used to call it kind of the large wind chime effect, and you can kind of get an idea of that. But this allows one lift to pick up multiple pieces and allows the crews that are standing by on those man lifts to install them quickly. Here's another good view of those glass panels that have already been installed and the concrete work on that second floor and the perimeter grade beam. And also a good overall view of the entire south end, and you can definitely tell the shape that is emerging here on this side of the building. And once it's all completed, it will all be under one contiguous roof, so it'll make it look like it's just one large building. As we continue to fly along the east side towards the north, I want to give you some good views of the multi-level parking garage that is also seeing a lot of progress in the last 48 hours. And what we're seeing today is on the west side, the concrete stairs that we saw being delivered on my previous video have been installed, and you can see how that stairwell is going to look. They've also added extensions of the columns. You can see 3 of those much taller concrete columns have been added onto the columns underneath, and they're starting to install what looks to be the 5th floor and at least 2 more floors. So if that's the case, we're looking at a minimum of a 7-floor structure for the parking garage. And with this close-in view, give a really good idea of how it's continuing to be built out, and all of the other concrete footings and other, I don't know, they're almost like grade beams that are being built throughout this section. And also with another one of those columns on the left, you can see how the structure is starting to extend to the north into this area where we see all of the concrete work on the ground. And overall, a really good view of how that structure is continuing to transform. And we're going to see this structure extend throughout this entire construction site. So it's going to be a truly immense parking garage once it's completed. And as I mentioned, a minimum of 7 floors it looks like right now. This is a good view of the center section of the construction site. See another one of those very large center, I don't know, almost like a beam with 2 of the footings being made. And we've already seen 2 of those, and it looks like those are continuing around the center of the construction site as well. On this end, we can see the preparation for the road construction, the manifold system underneath the ground for the water management. We also see some of that green seed mixture has been sprayed on several areas around this site. And that is to help with erosion control, but also to put some of that grass on this area to improve the overall look as well. Now I'm going to reposition the drone and bring us down lower to show you some more of the concrete items that have been recently delivered. This is all part of the structure for the multi-level parking garage. You can see some of the sections on the left that look like those wall units that have the smaller windows. And also we see many of those panels that are being used to extend the structure up to the next several levels. In the testing and calibration lot, one of the things that we see are 7 Cybertrucks in this area next to the helicopter pad. We've also seen, thanks to Jeff Roberts yesterday, that some of the Cybertrucks were driving around the helicopter pad testing their turning radius. And there's yet another Cybertruck here in the middle of the parking lot. This is the first time that I can recall that they've parked Cybertrucks in the middle of this area where there's normally Model Ys. And then we see 4 more Cybertrucks being supercharged, but these are a little bit different. I think these may be release candidates, but they all have number placards on their dashboards. And perhaps this is being done in preparation for the Cybertruck event. Maybe these will be used for demo test drives. Some of them look like there's some parts around the bed that aren't completely installed yet, so I don't know again what they're doing, but you can see the number placards on the dashboards, and this one's 11, the other one is 007, and hopefully tomorrow we'll have an idea if these are for test drives or not. So pretty cool to see all of this activity going on in the testing and calibration lot. So let's go and take a look at the east side of the main building and some of the developments that are going on with construction here right next to these trailers, and with those extended covers outside of the receiving docks that are all completed now. We can see this area is very close now to getting some of the concrete apron replaced. All of the receiving docks look to be completed. The concrete shelf is completed, and also the load leveler systems. The wiring here going into the building looks like it may be all completed because all of the trenches are filled in. We see the manhole cover and the concrete cover to the vaults, and there's no more wires that are visible as well. So all of this is a great sign, and this further helps with our discussion on my previous video about the electrical switchyard being fully operational now with both of those large transformers. Many Cybertruck castings on this side of the building, along with more equipment that is being used for that interior furnace and some of the ventilation system. And I'll bring the drone down a little lower at a later point in the video, and you'll get some better views of those castings. But on the roof, I wanted to show you the work on the left that flue for the furnace. Looks like it's nearing completion, and it only looks like there's going to be one now. And then the ducted fans and the enclosures and the ventilation shafts are continuing to be built in here on the right-hand side of the screen as well. And again, this is helping to improve the overall ventilation throughout the casting machine structure, partly because of the furnace, but partly because of the oil that is sprayed into the castings to make sure that the castings can freely be removed from the giga presses themselves. Here's a good close-in view of some of those castings for the Cybertruck. This looks like these are all rear castings, and most of them look like they've already been milled and trimmed as well. And we also see more of them here on this view. And again, almost all of these right now look to be the rear castings for the Cybertruck. So we know that the Cybertruck Delivery Event is tomorrow, and in this section of the parking lot that is all cleared out is where the invitees will be parking their vehicles. There's quite a bit of chargers which will be available to the invitees as well. And we see that they're putting planters with trees around that tent. And also it looks like a mobile restroom. And this is all where the check-in process will take place tomorrow for the Cybertruck Delivery Event. As I turn back towards the outbound lot, we see the Model Y production. It continues to be moving along really well. Only one Cybertruck today, and it's a release candidate. I know that because it has the RC label on the door. But some people keep asking about the production of the Model Ys. Why is this lot not full of Model Ys? What is going on? And do I know what the weekly production rate is? I don't know what the weekly production rate is. It's really hard to tell. But the purpose of this lot is to prepare the vehicles to be picked up and transferred away. And up at the railhead at Taylor, Texas, and a few other sites around Austin, they are stockpiling the vehicles there. This is not a parking lot, and if there were a lot of vehicles here, I think that is not something that's desirable by Tesla. So the reason why we don't see lots and lots of vehicles here is that they're constantly moving them away from here up to those other locations. Now on this side of the site, we're taking a look at the East Warehouse on Wheels and how it looks today. Very busy, and this is a great sign for production as the items are brought here. The trailers are stored temporarily until they're needed, and then they go over and unload them in the sections of the factory that they need, and then they are picked up and then take back to the suppliers. This makes it a lot more efficient than truck drivers just waiting along several hours for those trucks to be emptied out. As I fly on this side of the site, we get a chance to see the material staging, trailers, and also just some of the equipment. And also we're looking back at the main factory. It's very clear where the white stain has been applied and where it has not been applied on the building. Hopefully we'll see that northwest corner completed soon. And then here we can tell that the planters with the trees that we saw being moved over to that parking lot, this is where they're being staged and prepared for movement. And they're using part of this employee overflow lot for that. Another section of this clearing being prepared in this area. Again, I don't know if they're going to be expanding this out eventually and getting rid of some of the materials and then building something here in the future. As we fly up the alleyway between the die shop on the left and the battery cathode plant on the right, you can get a good sense of the concrete work that is being done on both sides, rebar in between, so we'll see the concrete join. We also see what looks to be more trenching and more work just on top of where those underground steel corrugated pipes are. You see some of the manhole covers and those white pipes indicating where they are located, and that's for the water management system. And then here next to the nitrogen tanks that have been recently moved to their new mounts, the crews are working on those manifolds to allow them to operate. And this is also a good view, keeping it zoomed in, of the work that's going on with these two large stainless steel pipes and the vaporizer system. Also a lot of work being done on the roof with the valves, pumps, heat exchangers, and more on the roof section next to the Evapco fan units for the chiller plant. So a lot of activity here. Also on the ground, you can see the conduit that's going underneath the road and more work for that conduit near the chiller plant. So a lot of progress is definitely going on here. And also the west side, we will come back for a closer view shortly. I'm going to just bring the drone up over the cathode plant, and we'll take a look at some of the activity here on the east side. One of the things I noticed is that the trench that's being filled in has got the blue water pipe that's been installed on this side of the building, and it will serve all of the buildings here in this complex of structures. Now there's a good view on the east side of the battery cathode plant, also that rounded top crash testing facility, and this very large water detention pond that continues to have final preparation work done. It looks like the drainage pipes now have been installed, and all of the trenched worked area here has been filled back in. And where that white truck is, you can see kind of a road that goes around this side of the water detention pond. And again, this is all part of that water management system, an extensive one that goes all around the entire Giga-Texas site. Another good view of the the crash testing lab, and the wade pit on the right, and also just how this east side appears on this part of the battery cathode plant. As we see the cell test lab coming into view on the right, we can see that clearing is now being used for some of those containers and other equipment. So I guess they just needed additional space, and that's why they prepared that site, at least for now. As we continue to fly to the northeast of the battery cathode plant, this is just a good view of the materials that are being stockpiled here. You can see those two silver tanks on the right. Those look like they're sections to some kind of equipment. And then also on the left, those two stainless steel tanks still waiting for assembly somewhere along the probably west side of the cathode plant. The lift station continues to have progress here. That's where those concrete vaults are, and the workers. Also, taking a look at the workers, you get a good sense of that scale of that site. And then the prepared ground here has had geotextile membranes and a lot of fill dirt to help prepare this for possibly paving and or concrete. And on the left, we can see there's some work that's been done with concrete and tanks along the bottom of the wall of the cathode plant. As we continue to approach the alleyway from this side, this is a good view of sort of the ground level of the chiller plant and all the activity that is going on here as well. And again, I mentioned a lot of work on the roof section with those pumps, heat exchangers, and pipes, and you can see that clearly here. And on the ground with that rebar work, that's going to be more of that conduit that will extend from the chiller plant over to the die shop. So good view here from a higher altitude of the activity on the chiller plant, the nitrogen tanks, and all the other work in between these two structures. The new intersection has all of the markings now painted, and this gives you a really good view of not only how it looks, but with all the traffic flow, how it is really helping with the amount of vehicle traffic that goes through this particular area. Over the trailers that are used as temporary offices by Tesla, we get over to near where the temporary electrical switch yard is located. And again, that appears to be completely de-energized. Now the new switch yard is powering Giga-Texas. A lot of the rolls, spools here of what was the cabling that was installed all throughout this area. And this flyby gives you a good view of how it looks today. As I mentioned, next to the east side of the casting machine structure where all of that conduit and the wires were installed, it all appears to be completed. And they're just starting to wrap up some of that final work. And we see what appears to be more of that here on this north section. And it looks like they're doing final preparation work here with all of these items and those three thick cables coming up out of the ground. This connects to the Megapack site, so hopefully this means that they are very close to commissioning the Megapacks very soon. So I'm going to fly up over the power lines. We'll get onto the west side of the power lines, and taking advantage of the lighting and the clouds, I'll give you a look back towards the east across the electrical switchyard and the Megapack site, just to give a good view of how this entire east side of the site looks today, and give you a good context of where many of the items and the sections of the site that we visited are located. On the north end of the Megapack, they're still working on that north section with the dirt rectangular area. Again, those are those cables that go up to the north side where we saw all the workers doing some final checkouts and preparing for, hopefully, this Megapack site to become operational. The Megapacks themselves all look like they are completed and just waiting for that final connections to be made. So that'll bring to a close this one day before the big Cybertruck delivery event. And I hope that you enjoyed some of the early morning views of the west main entrance and all of the lit up portions of the factory, and also just the rest of everything that we were able to see and talk about in the video today. As always, thank you very much for watching. I appreciate it. I hope to see many of you at the Cybertruck event tomorrow. So take care.